Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Um, I wanted to, my name Taran. You could find me on social media at Try and Elevate. Recording this, I wanted to start a channel where I talk about issues in a Muslim community. I'm not a scholar, so by no way am I trying to teach the religion. But however, the imams, a lot of times in our community, at the masjid, the leaders, the imams, they spend a lot of time. It's their job to do that, to teach the religion or whatever. I'm not here to do that, but a lot of times, especially in our community, we outsource that responsibility to people from other countries, and they don't necessarily know a lot about the issues that we have in our community that are specific to us. So you'll get a lot of information that's more catered towards either the Daisy community um, or either to the negative aspects of our community, and none focused on the positive. So or like a stereotypical type advice. You know what I'm saying? So um, it's important for us to open up conversations that involve the evolve a message for our audience from our perspective. You know what I'm saying? There are rulings that go so far as to say, and again, I'm not teaching our religion, but for a scholar to give a fatwa, for example, a fatwa is the Islamic ruling. Um, he has to um, I don't want to mess this up because of course I'm gonna be judged for anything that I say in this video. Anything that I say that's correct is from Allah, and anything that I say that's incorrect that's from my own self, from my own soul. And I pray that Allah guide me and give me the strength and the wisdom to obtain this or achieve this goal without transgressing. You know what I mean? Which is a difficult task. That's why it took me so long for either get to even get to this point. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, for a scholar to give a ruling, the scholar has to be familiar with that people or to be from that land. So, a big issue in our community is it's not, I don't even want to talk about that because I don't want to. I'm nervous about saying it. I'm gonna say it, but I might end up taking it out. But basically, like dreads. Dreads are something that you'll hear fatwas given to say that they are haram because they are imitating the kuffar. They're imitating the Rastafarians. When in actuality, our people have been wearing our hair in a certain style that may be considered dreads way before the Rastafarian movement. We have to be, we have to kind of take back our narrative. You know what I'm saying? We have to kind of take back our narrative because dreadlocks have a long and a rich heritage or history that predates the Rastafarian movement. Warriors in Africa and other ethnic groups wore dreadlocks as a symbol of strength and courage, like the Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania, just as two examples. Wore dreadlocks as signs of being warriors. It ain't have nothing to do with religion. In ancient Egypt, we find sculptures and hieroglyphics that depict people with dreadlocks or what we would consider locked hair. Also among the Nubians, who were known for the distinctive dreadlocks. Um, West Africa and the Yoruba people in Nigeria have a tradition of wearing dreadlocks as a symbol of spiritual devotion and to show that one has taken a vow of chastity and spiritual devotion as well. So, um, so it is not exclusive to Rastafarians. It's not exclusive to any group in particular, because it was even some Greeks that was known to wear that was known for wearing dreads. Even though I still would consider it a African hairstyle. You know what I'm saying? Like a hairstyle of our people. You know what I mean? And it's also it also is Islamic scholars from Saudi and from Saudi, only Saudi that I know of. So I don't want to say Egypt, but I believe a scholar in Egypt said this as well. But in India, ancient India, dreadlocks were worn by ascetics to as like a sign of being a holy people, and rejecting materialism and their devotion. Um, Dreadlocks were worn by black people for centuries before the Rastafarian movement, and it did have some deep spiritual and cultural significance. However, the Rastafarian movement didn't start until the 30s, so it was popularized by them. But everybody that wear dreads don't even know about the Rastafarian movement. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of became a symbol of the movement, but they kind of hijacked it and they got big. Wearing dreadlocks don't automatically mean that you believe in something else outside of Islam. It don't even mean that it's any of these reasons, like spiritual devotion or anything like that, or rejecting Western ideology. Even though I would say that it kind of that's how I kind of started my path. One of the things I noticed when I was working in the schools, so like a little bit of my history is that I went to school for I got a degree in molecular biology and cell biology and genetics, right? So I was in a PhD program. It was super white. It was I had racist professors, and it just was a lot of institutional racism. And I was depressed for a while after leaving. I didn't even finish because they kind of flim flammed me. I ain't even going. That's a whole nother story. But when I left there, I always did volunteer work with the youth. Always, all my life since I was let's say 15, 14, 15, right? Um I did volunteer work. So I was working in a lot of schools in Philly, and I was working with ES kids, which is considered like it's called emotional support, and it's basically you are working in a classroom with kids who have IEPs and behavioral issues. And one of the things that I noticed, older black woman put me on. She because they would kind of send me to different classes to kind of get everything in shape because I would come in and had such an impact because I was young. They kind of identified with me. I spoke their language. I dressed like them. I walk like them. I talk like them. So I had a big impact on them, alhamdulillah. And one of the ladies told me that this one young boy who was Muslim, he would always act out when he didn't have a haircut. Basically they were struggling and sometimes he couldn't get his hair cut and he would always act out, and I started to see a trend. I started to see a trend where all of these kids would act out when they didn't have haircuts, and it was heartbreaking. So I stopped cutting my hair. I started going to the barbershop. I was already fed up with the barbershop just because it's a very toxic environment. It can be a very toxic environment. You know what I mean? Like, these single mothers bringing they kids in there, and the men just always aren't the perfect gentlemen, and the talks that go on, and just this it just is like real degrading women in a lot of shops. So I would say that I don't want to go into details in this story. I want to kind of stick to the point. But yeah, I would notice this, and so I stopped cutting my hair, And at first, some of my kids would be busting on me, like, well, trying to bust on me, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, like, why you don't get your hair cut? Da, 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 da. And I would tell them, like, look, what I mean, the haircut don't make the man make the haircut. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these young boys was Muslim, man. They would start praying with me, and you know what I mean, like, alhamdulillah, it was very influential. Um, so and a lot of them couldn't get haircuts every week. You know what I mean? They were struggling most of the time. It was in schools in the hood, and I think it really allowed them to see that this is just a part. This is a small part of who you are, and it doesn't make or break you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's in society. We as black people, we do get a lot of flack for our hair, no matter how we have it. But it's especially this thing in the hood where it's like, I remember several times my mom saying, "Oh, you getting on my nerves. You need a haircut." Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like she would be so irked just because, what I'm saying, I will be doing kid stuff, but I don't have a haircut. And this story is not exclusive to me. And it wasn't even something that was intentional. I mean, I had a great mom. But this is just a stigma in the hood that always kind of follow our children, and we don't realize the impact that it's having. So when I stopped cutting my hair, a lot of the kids and teenagers, um, they would it gave them an opportunity to be in an environment or have a part of their environment that they felt they didn't worry about not having a haircut. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of them, we had our own classroom in one of the schools that I was in. Um, and a lot of the kids would want to come to the classroom because, what I mean, they wanted to be, it was me and my man Mar. I'm gonna try to have Mar on one day. Mar was, another one, what I mean, young, he like my age, young, thorough. He dressed like, no, he dressed like them for real, what I mean, the J's, he was fly. Um, so the kids loved being around him, especially. And then when I came, it was just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we was like Batman and Robin, for real, for real. And, all of the kids, which is not really a good thing. They would always want to come hang in the class, but we would put, instead of putting less, making them having less, what I would say, less expectations, because a lot of them don't have a lot of expectations. The teachers don't have a lot of expectations for them because they are the bad kids. So, we will make them do projects. We will make them, have to be in class for a certain amount of time. If they wanted to hang out with us, we would have to, they would have to, help other kids out. Like, it was a bullying issue. So I would tell them, like, listen, ain't no way that, such and such should be being bullied if that's your man. You know what I'm saying? You always got to stick, ride for your man. So whatever, you know what I mean? And we kind of whipped a lot of them in shape, man. Alhamdulillah. He not Muslim, but, you know what I mean? It just, I was just smiling thinking about it because I was only there for a short time. He was only there for a short, he was there longer than me, but you know what I mean? To see is rare. Sometimes you work in them environments, you don't get to see an immediate impact. But, alhamdulillah, I was able to see like an immediate impact. And, unfortunately, man, a lot of those young kids, man, that was in this particular class I'm talking about now are either dead or locked up. You know what I mean? So, and I think that if we afford for these young people these opportunities more often, and then they have a better chance. You know what I'm saying? They have a stronger chance of becoming something themselves. You know what I mean? So yeah. So back to my topic. We a lot of us want to wear our hair in dreads. My hair is not locked right now; it's just plaited. But a lot of us want to wear our hair in a certain type of way, and it might seem like Islam is too strict and we can't do anything that's true to us as a people. And that's just not true. You just have to learn your religion, be confident, and stand on what you believe, and find evidences to not just find evidences on Google, but find people that you trust who are knowledgeable to talk with about these things, um and don't give up your identity. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it seems like we're the only ones that's forced to give up our identities because we're not from the Middle East. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah. So that was just one thing that I wanted to talk about with y'all, and I didn't want to make this video too long. But Just think about the tradition of dreadlocks. And that's just one example. You know what I'm saying? That's just one example of how we tend to let other people write our story and dictate. And I have to find that evidence for what I just told you guys real quick too. Off on a bit of a tangent, but anyway, when it comes to dreadlocks, right? There uh there are other things. So you think about in the Bible, and this story probably precedes the Bible, but Samson. Samson was a powerful man, very strong. He lost his power when he cut his hair. Um, Now, for me, this is another thing for me. The Native Americans believed that the hair was an extension of the nervous system, and that when if they were to cut their hair, that and this is not even dreadlocks, this is just their hair. If they were to cut their hair, that they would lose this sense they had. It was a saying back then that you could never sneak up on an Indian, right? Um, a Indian, but they were Native Americans, and the United States government, the military, when they started to draft Native Americans for counterintelligence, they found this to be true. That when they cut their hair, they lost this sense. They would sense people. They would sense people coming, and they were no longer able to do this when they lost their hair. So there is science to back up the fact that this is that the nerve system, that the hair is an extension of the nervous system, right? But even if you don't subscribe to that, um, it's the natural way that our hair grow out of our head. You know what I'm saying? Like if we don't touch our hair, then naturally it will lock. And you got it when you consider, as Muslims, we have to make wudu before we pray. So we're all constantly wetting our hair. So that's why my hair look crazy now, because especially in the front, whenever I wet it, the front it like puffs up. So this can be considered a protective style as well. Um, and a lot of times this is just another way to kind of punish black people for the way that their hair naturally comes out of their heads. You see a lot of corporations who ban natural hairstyles, who ban dreadlocks, because they say that it's unkept, which is another myth. People think that dreadlocks are dirty and unkept. And like I said, if you don't do anything to your hair, it will lock. But when people choose to wear locks as a style, and even back then, even with the Rastafarians and the Egyptians and Yoruba people, this is a high maintenance thing. This is not just I'm gonna let my natural hair grow in free form. They call it free form locks, and have them looking all crazy. Usually these are neatly neatly dreaded hair that are taken care of. This goes back to a ritual of us bonding and spending time with our families, nourishing our families, the way mothers interact with their daughters in a lot of African tribes is very symbolic to the way that they keep their hair. It's a country in Africa where the women hair grow all the way down to their feet. I can't remember that. I can't remember the name of the tribe, but this is a very intimate thing for us as black people, and you're not less Muslim because you decide to wear your hair in a way that is protective, and that is the natural way that it comes out of your hair. And none of I don't like it's and there also is a difference of opinion. All scholars don't say this, but some sects are more harsh or lean towards the sides that is haram, when in actuality it's a difference of opinion. And this is something that is stigmatized in a lot of Western culture and non-black people, and where they don't really want to understand what we go through. You know what I'm saying? Like for our women who have thick hair to have to wet their hair, to have to wet their hair every day, sometimes 5 times a day, and to have to have their scarves worn in a certain type of way so that it's not humps in it and things of that nature is a struggle, and we have to as a people become more conscious of the way that we understand these fatwas and the way that we follow out these fatwas. And sometimes we have to push back. No disrespect. I mean, we want to still uphold our scholars with the utmost respect, but also we need to talk to the people that's going back and taking this information to the scholars and running back and saying, "Oh, Sheikh, they wearing their hair like this and that," and we have to hold them accountable as well. And this is just something that was on my heart, and I pray that Allah guides us all to the straight path. And if I, like I said, if anything I said is incorrect, that's from me and my own soul. And if I said anything that is correct, then that's from Allah. And it's no guidance without Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.